discussing the rights and responsibilities of a global citizenship. So, a global citizen is someone who sees themselves as a part of an emerging sustainable world community and whose actions support the values and practices of that community. So, many people today identify with being global citizen as more and more aspects of their lives become globalized. So, being a global citizenship does not mean that you have to give up the other citizenship identities you already have, like your local community, your country citizenship. No, being a global citizen just means that you have another layer of identity added to who you are. So, and if you take that identity seriously, there are new set of rights and responsibilities that come with it. So, global citizenship rights. Our rights of a global citizen are embedded, fixed in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. So, first dated in 1948, after the World War II, the core nature of the Universal Declaration, grounded in individuality, liberty, equality, and equity, has remained constant. However, the way in human rights are applied change over time, with changes that occur in the political, economic, and fabric society. Also, new rights that were not on the 1948 human rights agenda have emerged. For example, the digital access rights, the LGBT rights, and the environmental rights. So the main problem to the related to human right has been the difficulties that the world has had in enforcing them. So there is a long shameful rights on the part of sovereign states, religious institutions, corporations, and others. A growing number of international mechanisms have been established for reporting human rights abuses. There are also global, regional, and national courts that exist to adjudicate incidences of human rights abuse. Yet, unfortunately, human rights enforcement still have limited legal jurisdiction, and many states have not agreed to participate in them. So this is yet another reason for us to review and update the current human rights policies and programs. So, a global citizenship responsibilities. A global citizen living in an emerging world community has moral, ethical, and political economic responsibilities. So these responsibilities includes, so first is the responsibility to understand one's own perspective and the perspective of the other on global issues. So it is the responsibility of a global citizen to understand these different perspectives and promote problem-solving agreement among these different perspectives and building of common ground solutions. So, a global citizen should avoid taking sides with one particular point of view and instead search for ways to bring all sides together. Second is the responsibility to respect the principle of cultural diversity. So, in building a sustainable value-based world community, it is important to maintain respect for the world's different cultural traditions, to make an effort to bring together the leaders of these cultural traditions, who often have much in common with one another, and to help leaders bring the best elements of their culture to the task of solving global issues and building world community. Third is the responsibility to make connections and build relationship with people from other countries and cultures. So, global citizens need to reach out and build relationships with people from other countries and cultures. It is quite easy to build global relationships. Most countries, cities, and towns are now populated with immigrants and people from different ethnic traditions. Internet offers a range of opportunities to connect with people on different issues. So even without traveling abroad, it is possible to build a network of personal and group cross-country and cultural relationships. Building such network help those involved better understand their similarities and differences and search for common solutions for the global issues that everyone faces. So fourth is the responsibility to understand the ways in which the people and countries of the world are interconnected and interdependent. So global citizens should understand the ways in which the global environment affect them where they live and how the environment lifestyles they choose affect the environment in other parts of the world. So they need to understand the ways in which human rights violation in foreign countries affects their own human rights, how growing income inequalities across the world affect the quality of their lives, how the global tide of immigration affect what goes on in their countries. So fourth is the responsibility to understand global issues. Global citizens have the responsibility to understand the major global issues that affect their lives. Example, they need to understand the impact of scarcity of resources and societies, the challenges presented by the current distribution of wealth and power in the world, the roots of conflict and dimensions of peace building, the challenges posed by a growing global population. So next is responsibility to advocate for greater international cooperation with other nations. So global citizens need to play activist roles in urging greater international cooperation between their nation and others. So when a global issue arises, it is important for a global citizen to provide advice on how their countries can work with other nations to address the issue. So next is the responsibility for advocating for the implementation of international agreements, conventors, treaties related to global issues. So global citizens have the responsibility to advocate for having their countries ratify and implement the global agreements, conventions, and treaties that they have signed. So last is the responsibility for advocating for more effective global equity and justice in each of the value domains of the world community. There are a growing number of cross-sectors issues that requires the implementation of global standards of justice and equity. So, global citizens have the responsibility to work with one another and advocate for global equality and justice solutions to this issue. So, those are the global citizenship responsibilities. So, the ethical obligations of global citizens, various writers have the following ideas concerning the global citizens' ethical obligations. So, from Daisaku Ikeda, a global citizen has the wisdom to perceive the interconnectedness of all life and living, the courage not to fear or deny difference but to respect and strive to understand people of different cultures and to grow from encounters with them, the compassion to maintain an imaginative empathy that reaches beyond one's immediate surroundings and extends to those suffering in distant places. So next is from Kwame Anthony Appiah. She's a professor of philosophy at Princeton University. If you can prevent something bad from happening at the cost of something less bad, you ought to do it. People have right to the satisfaction of their basic needs such as health, food, shelter, and education. Our obligation is to help others satisfy their needs. In any event, our highest duties are to those whom we are closest family friends. According to Janet Kipping, president of Sheldon Kinder Foundation, of Ethics in Leadership in Calgary, Alberta, a global citizenship has no legal significance at the moment. Perhaps, as such, it never will, but the world often serve as rallying cry for ethically motivated action on global problems such as the AIDS pandemic. The concept is likely to contribute to call for more numerous obligations in the powerful and fortunate in both international and domestic law to share with those who are less so. So that is my report about rights and responsibilities of global citizenship, and I hope you learned something.